Hello, everybody, and welcome back to ZakIsCinema. Yes, welcome home. We're here again together. Yes, ZakIsCinema is just such a welcoming home that I like to think of, and it's for all the people out there who just get weird looks when you tell another person that you still go to the movie theaters, right? And when you try to talk to them, they're just zoned out when you talk to them, you know? But not here, because look at this, everybody. I brought a whole extra chair for anyone who wants to sit down and talk about some movies, okay? I'm not even sure if this is in the frame. But yes, welcome. I brought a seat this time. Just move this. Yes, I did bring a whole chair just for that joke. So, yes, you're welcome. Today we're going to be talking about another movie here. We're doing a nostalgic review this time. So, for anybody new here, the nostalgic reviews, similar to the first time watch reviews, but I guess just the opposite, okay? A nostalgic review is when I'm taking a look back at movies that I have a lot of nostalgia for. These movies that I grew up with and maybe just haven't seen for a while and now kind of want to watch again as I'm a bit older here, seeing if these movies still hold up, if I appreciate different things now, or if it's much worse than I remember. So we're sticking with our monster creature movies. Looking forward to the Wolfman coming up. Today we're doing a nostalgic review for Creature from the Black Lagoon. Creature from the Black Lagoon, we're talking about the original one released in 1954. It was directed by Jack Arnold, and for writers, we got Harry Essex and Arthur Ross. And starring in this movie, we got Richard Carlson, Julie Adams, Richard Denning, and Antonio Moreno. The Creature from the Black Lagoon, the plot follows a group of scientists exploring the Amazon River as they stumble upon a missing link connecting humans to fish. These humans plan to capture it for later study. However, the creature has plans of its own and has set his sights on the lead scientist's fiancée, Miss K. Ooh. Watch out, Miss K. With all my reviews, I kind of like to hop in and discuss why I'm even talking about this movie. So, I'm sticking with some of these monster movies, these creature movies, since we have the Wolfman coming out very soon, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. This one, I'm very nostalgic for the Creature from the Black Lagoon. My dad showed this to me when I was really young, and I had this thing when I was younger that just hated any types of horror, mystery, thriller movies. They actually just got to me and disturbed me when I was a child. Okay, it actually impacted my sleep and my ability to function the next day because I just took these things so seriously. I was unable to separate art from real fucking life, okay? And this was one of them. And this was one that scarred me, okay? Which is so funny as I just watched it again and now looking back on how creeped out and scared I really was watching this for the first time. But I'm very nostalgic for this movie. I grew up with it. I remember shitting myself the first time that I saw it. So I was very excited to check this out again. And when I was preparing for this video, I found out that they actually filmed this movie in 3D by using a polarized light method, which requires audiences to wear gray polarizing filter glasses, kind of similar to those red and blue paper glasses that you get from the Dollar Tree or something. But by the time this movie came out in 1954, that 3D fad was kind of going away. So most theaters originally showing this movie didn't even show it in its 3D format, just its standard 2D. So I found it very interesting as I was, researching and watching this movie, finding that out. Watching this movie with that knowledge, you could see how it was really filmed for 3D, and I'm just so sad that I wasn't, born in the 50s so I could have experienced this in 3D. I missed out on it just by a couple years, but we're hopping back into it here, people. So yeah, let's just jump right into the positives or the things that I really enjoyed about this movie. So first, kind of like I mentioned with the Wolfman, that black and white feel that this movie has just makes me feel like I'm experiencing and watching a time capsule. There's something about black and white movies that just bring a whole different experience to the movie watching experience. I didn't grow up with black and white movies, so then when I was younger and watching them now, taking a look back at some older movies, it's just like it's a whole different way to watch a movie. And I know it's a little different when looking back at older movies because that's just really the resources and technology that they had available to them. But still, something about specifically these creature monster movies being shot in black and white, it just puts me back into that time and place when it was released and just creates a whole different atmosphere around it. I really enjoyed watching this in black and white. Next positive I had here was the opening starts with this short but really cool narration scene that kind of narrates the creation of the earth using Bible verses. So it kind of throws you into the messages, catches you up to speed right away when you start this movie, and there's some cool, great practical effects with the like explosion of like the Big Bang Theory all coming together. Like it looks really cool, it holds up really well, and I like how they started this narration because the whole movie is about evolution, so it makes sense to start it off that way. And I like how they incorporated some Bible verses into it because it just adds to that creepy, unsettling nature that these like big world history can really bring to a movie like this. So I really enjoyed how it started off. It helps to set up everything very quickly and then jumps into the mystery of finding that bit of hand from our creature. My next positive here is jumping off that you kind of get the creature stuff, the creature from the Black Lagoon stuff right away. And that was one of my biggest negatives for The Wolfman, and I feel like a lot of these older movies that was very limited by its budget, the technology and resources that were available to our directors. But with this one, I feel like they understood their limits, but it still didn't take away from the fact that, hey, this is a monster movie. Let's show the fucking monster. So you get the creature stuff right away, but it's slowly revealed throughout the movie. One of the first scenes is you start off with a hand coming slowly out of the water. And it's such an interesting way, a unique way to introduce our creature, because you're there for the creature, but you don't get all of it right away. But that doesn't mean they hold off on you either. So it's a great way to build that tension and suspense. My next positive here is the music. The music in these classic films are really top notch, especially the soundtrack in this movie. It feels classic, whimsical, but also unsettling and further adds to our atmosphere that it's making. It has these like really cool, beautiful brass instruments like blaring when the creature emerges, so he has his own theme and everything. And I just love the use of like an ensemble band in the soundtrack because I didn't grow up with that. I didn't get that a lot, and I remember that was one thing that stood out to me when I was younger watching this movie, is just how different the music was to stuff I was watching at the time, but how much more impactful it really was. My next positive here is like we were talking about, I like how they start with the creature stuff right away, but they hide the creature and then slowly reveal it throughout the movie. Like the great first kill scene that you get with the creature is they don't even show it. You hear the screams of the people he's attacking in the tent, and then you see some shadows and like the tent moving around. So again, you're getting creature stuff throughout the movie, but it's not all right away, so it removes all that tension, except it does the opposite. It has all of it, but it slowly builds it up throughout the movie and throughout the scenes. Next positive here is these beautiful, beautiful underwater scenes and how they were filming on location. You could tell they were under the water, getting dirty with it, you know? Oh, that sounded weird, but not like that. They were doing it. They were doing it for the love of movies, which we appreciate here at ZakIsCinema, of course. They film on location, which again was just something that stood out to me when I watched it for the first time and watching it now, because you're so used to seeing just green screens, blue screens, filming on sound stages. You get none of that in this movie. They're actually filming on location. And those beautiful underwater scenes are so, so cool. And that's the part that made me wish I could have seen this or experienced this in 3D, because even in its 2D format, you get great big shots. The underwater parts just feel so big and so real, and there's already a lot of depth there, so I couldn't imagine how amazing it must have looked in 3D. But yes, jumping off that, the underwater scenes, like I was saying, are so mesmerizing, creepy, and suspenseful. One of our main characters, David, in this movie actually refers to the Black Lagoon area that they go to, is that it almost feels like another world. And that's how I felt watching this movie. Like this whole thing feels like another world, feels like a different reality. And then when you get to those underwater scenes or those water scenes, again, feels like another different world, if that makes sense. So they really do a great job with that. It holds up really, really well. Speaking of that, I feel like I'm talking about all the water stuff. I guess we love water as well at ZakIsCinema. But there's a really great scene of the creature like swimming under Miss K there, Miss Lawrence, and it's just creepily like watching her and like mesmerized with her because all these scientists are there like so mesmerized and curious about this creature, but then they stop to realize that the creature is just as memorized of them as they are to the creature as well. And you get cool scenes like that, very reminiscent of probably what was going on in like a movie like Jaws. Those underwater scenes, but you just get to see more of it, unlike you did in Jaws, but there's a purpose to why you're seeing it in a movie like The Creature from the Black Lagoon. So you get cool scenes of them like the creature swimming underneath someone. It looks like he's almost like studying the person, but at the same time it's so creepy and suspenseful because you're like, this creature's about to kill Miss Lawrence. Miss Lawrence, watch out. There's scenes like that throughout the whole movie. But jumping off that, my next positive here is just the design of the creature. It's amazing, holds up well for its time, and I like how like in the underwater scenes, I don't know if this was a purpose, but you don't really get many details on the eyes, so it just looks like all black, hollow, and soulless. So it really adds another element of creepiness factor to our creature as well when you get to see him like that. But I think the creature design holds up really well. You could tell it's a dude in the suit, but it's so easy to look past when you're watching the movie. And again, I don't think this was on purpose. I think this was a limitation due to its time period that it was made in, but I almost kind of like that it looks so reminiscent of just a dude because the whole movie's about evolution and how we're not so different from other creatures. So it makes sense why the creature would look like this deformed version of one of our scientists' scuba divers. So it makes sense. It almost adds another element and theme to the movie. Even if it wasn't done on purpose, it was just something that stuck out to me when I was watching it. Another positive here, another thing we here love at ZakIsCinema is old horror movie screams, especially in these black and white movies when it comes off so distorted. Again, a technology time period limit, but with not only this movie, just older movies in general, I love how distorted and raw that horror movie scream feels and sounds like in these older movies. It just adds another element to the movie and just makes it seem much more impactful because this character is in such distress that they're screaming so loud, it's like distorting the things around you. I just really enjoy how older movies have that feel to it. So I really like that in this movie because you get a lot of screams, mostly from Miss Lawrence, Miss K over here, but it's all distorted. It just adds another little horror element. I love how this movie also is a commentary on research, science, the money that goes into research, and what it will force and make humans do, not only to our environment, but just the other people around us. And I love the messaging in this movie because it's all there. It's easy to pick apart and see when you're watching. It also does something that a lot of modern movies don't do, and it doesn't beat you over the head. It doesn't have this evil, like, scientist, a board member guy saying, you gotta do this. Okay, I'm paying you a fuck ton of money. You better do this because this is what's good for the company. It doesn't do that, but instead has its messages through its dialogue and what the characters are doing. So I appreciated the messages, themes in this, but I also appreciated that it didn't beat me over the head with it. And I really, really do enjoy the last 30 minutes of this movie. Pretty much all of it, I would say they have good suspense and tension, but the last like 20, 30 minutes, there's always something happening. Creatures doing something to someone, taking someone away, on the run, chasing someone, swimming around. The creature is always doing something, and it doesn't let up in those last like 20 minutes. Speaking of that, I do really enjoy the ending as you see the creature like falling back into the Black Lagoon there, and you're not sure if he's alive or if he's dead. It wraps everything up well enough. We'll kind of get into that with some of the negatives of this movie, but it wraps up everything well enough, but still leaves that like, ooh, like, is this creature still alive? And I feel like that's perfect for a creature monster movie like this, because you could see it as, well, they succeeded, they killed the monster. Look, you could kind of see it dying. Or you could see it as like, they think that they did that, they think that they killed the monster, but we don't really know. It's not conclusive. So I like endings like that where it's still able to wrap everything up but kind of leave a couple things like out there. So really enjoyed the ending, really enjoyed the suspense built up throughout, especially in those last like 20 to 30 minutes. So jumping into our negatives here, I feel like a lot of my negatives here are just kind of some of that dated aspect that you get from a lot of older movies. So, take these with a grain of salt. They're not really held against the movie for me per se, just things that I kind of notice as I'm watching it now from a person who was not alive in the 50s that experienced it there. But I definitely had a lot less negatives, and I think the nostalgia helped with that. My first negative here is there's really no explanation as to what or why the creature is now all of a sudden awakened. It's not really like a negative. I just kind of wish that we got a little bit more lore and explanation to our creature and the rules that he's following, because you don't really get an explanation as to like how he's awakened, why all of a sudden humans are now seeing this thing. It's not like he's very hidden or not very noticeable. Like, he comes out as soon as he starts seeing and hearing humans. So I'm like, well, is this like the first time anyone's ever been here? Like, there's some questions that I'm left with that I just wish had a little bit further explanation. Next negative I have here is, again, some of those dated parts that you get with a movie coming out in the 50s. But the way they treat Miss Lawrence, it's dated and it doesn't hold up very well. Like, for example, there's a plot point in this movie of the researchers hesitating to explore the lagoon because, and I quote, they have a woman with them. And like, that's supposed to be part of the tension and suspense, I guess. They make it a brief little plot point and it just doesn't hold up well. There's things like that throughout the movie. Because you have a woman with you, like, you can't explore, but I'm like, well, then why'd you even, like, bring her with you guys on this expedition? But why is that even an issue if she like works with, like, it's a little dated. But yes, jumping off that, they don't give Kay much to do in this movie. They bring her along. Through the dialogue, you find out she's another like researcher or scientist or whatever, but she just doesn't do much. Like, she's just that damsel in distress character throughout the entire movie, and they make her seem just kind of like stupid, a little ditzy. Like, she goes swimming in the lagoon on her own and doesn't tell anybody after they like just got there. And I'm like, Miss K, like, come on, stay in the boat. Why don't you go like cook them some like sandwiches? That would have been more. If they made her just like stay in the kitchen and cook food for all of them, they would have given her more to do and still fit with the 50s depiction of women in movies, right? I don't think they should make sandwiches. But if they want to now, that's okay too, right? Who doesn't like a good sandwich prepared by a woman? I don't know what my point was, but okay. Not only with our Kay, Miss Lawrence character, they really don't give much backstory or reasons to care about any of our main characters. It's fun seeing them in this situation. They have good writing and dialogue, but like, there's not much to those characters. Like, I really, without looking it up, I really couldn't tell you the characters' names and like motivations throughout the movie. Like, they're just kind of there so our creature can be there, which I don't mind in a monster movie. It's just something I realize now, watching it now, that I didn't pick up on when I was much younger. My last negative I had here is I praised and put the ending as a positive in my positive section, but the ending does leave off just extremely abrupt. It leaves off with that cool scene of like the creature like floating back, like, whoa, like floating back a little bit down into the water, and you're like, oh shit, like, did they actually kill him? Like, is he gonna come back? Is he just like faking this? Like, it leaves off with that cool mystery. Then you get the characters' reactions of them like standing on the beach, and then bam, movie cuts off. And it's like, oh, I like what you were doing there. I like that ending, but like maybe not so abrupt. Like, We really don't get any we get a wrap up for our creature and like the scenario that we were in, but none of the wrap up for our characters that were left over. They could have just thrown in a quick little scene of them just like floating away in their boat as they get out of the lagoon, and then bam, you cut it off. Like, it just needed 1 to 2 more scenes so it didn't just feel like so abrupt. It comes off like their budget just ran out that minute and they're like, bam, like, we have to shut it off now. Like, we cannot film another scene. We can't get the boat back. I think that's what the issue was, because that's how it felt. Doesn't ruin it, doesn't make me hate it. It's like, oh, I guess we're done here. Like, so overall, I think this is a great classic monster creature feature movie with beautiful cinematography, a cool creature design, constant tension. It's really a great movie that holds up despite some of those dated aspects that we were just talking about. It lived up to what I remember as a kid. Obviously not as like creepy or scary. Like, I slept fine that night, guys. I know you were worrying. I slept just fine. It's a great classic movie that I would definitely recommend to people, and I think it's one of those great classic movies that, sure, it's dated, it's not like a big budget thing, it's not like modern monster movies. It really holds up well, and it's still a great watch even today. For my rating for this movie, it is a little bit difficult with some of these more older dated movies because I just don't find myself itching to rewatch them. They're a great experience, especially if you love film and movies. Like, you should and need to watch these types of movies. But for my rating for this movie is I have it as, I would look to own this movie. Like, I think I'd want it on my shelf just to have, and I think it's like perfect for like a kid's first horror movie or someone who just hasn't had a lot of experience with older movies or black and white movies. I think it's perfect for that, and that's why I'd want to own it. But I don't think I'm really ever going to rewatch this or have the itch to go and rewatch this unless I was showing someone or someone expressed interest in watching this movie or type of movie like this. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this video here, and thank you so much to anybody watching my videos. Let me know down below what you think of the creature from the Black Lagoon. Would you like a modern remake? Would you like maybe a limited series? Who knows? Would you like to see more from our beautiful creature? I look forward to more reviews and videos coming very soon. Thanks again for watching. I do appreciate it.